Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. Not
Awesome.
you, not you being on time. No, I'm sorry, but
Really? Are you kidding me? I'm always on time, generally, if tech allows. But yes, I'm here. I'm live and in the flesh.
I know that's right. Well, we can do a quick introductions, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
All
Um,
right.
all right. So, for those who do not know, my name is Monique Macklin. I'm known in the industry as the Pink Power CEO. I am the founder of the Credit Lady as well. And what I do is I work with people who earn an average of $50,000 a year annually or more. And I work with them and help them to make, manage, and multiply money so that they can start their wealth building journey the right way.
Ooh, I love that introduction. I'm the Prophetic Financier, Al Mills, and I pretty much is specializing in helping ordinary people enhance their socioeconomics where they have the capacity to earn more time freedom, location freedom, and monetary freedom, which will eventually be the lifestyle that they want to live on their purpose. So, welcome to
Hmm.
today's conversation.
Yes, welcome to today's conversation. And today we're going to be talking about overcoming financial stress, not stress backs, but setbacks, overcoming financial setbacks. In this particular economy we're in, I know they're saying that, this country, the numbers are doing a lot better than in other countries as far as, I guess outpacing inflation, things of that nature. But a lot of people still aren't feeling that, right? A lot of people are still feeling like they're in a financial fight each and every day. So, how does one remain resilient when it feels like the walls are closing in on you?
Yeah, that has been the pressing question for, I'm going to say, decades in the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've all been conditioned to be in the grind, go to work and make that money, but we never look at, is the money that we're earning and the time that we're circulating to do that, is it
Mm-hmm.
growing at the rate of inflation and other things like taxation? And so we are in the midst of the great economic reset. That is true, because if you understand where we are now moving away from physical currency into we're in a digital currency space. And so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things are going to be happening. Just like last week, the potential port strike, right? If you not noticed, that would have crippled the economy, especially for the holiday season. But they tend to came to an agreement at least to get through the holidays. But
Mm.
there is a reset, and the only way to really get rebound from a setback is to understand exactly what caused you to be in that position to begin with, if that makes sense.
Correct.
And,
And well, a lot of people will say that, you know, let's say if you're renting, right? And you're working, your salary may go up. Doesn't necessarily mean it will. It may go up 3% annually, but your rent may go up 5% annually.
mm-hmm.
Um, Now we also, a lot of people, I know I made a video about this some months ago about people who have, especially millennials who have become homeowners. They realize that there are a lot of things that come with home ownership. Like you just can't call a maintenance office and they're going to come fix your toilet or whatever. This all belongs to you now. So those and all taxes going up. They said go get a house because your mortgage will stay the same. They didn't understand the TI and PITI, right?
Oh, that's a big difference between principal interest and principal interest, taxes, and insurance. Oh, yeah, that's a big difference for
Yes.
sure. For sure.
So those are like things that have shocked a lot of people financially, and they're not understanding this. And also, what we say, like a home is not an asset. A single family home, if you're paying for it, is not an asset. So these are things that people don't understand as well. That it's not always about what you have coming in. Sometimes you have to go and find ways or create ways to bring more in.
Yeah, and well, let's talk about the setback, right? So, first of all, I have seen in my many years dealing in the financial space,
Mm-hmm.
and wealth and private wealth enhancement, is that the average working class person doesn't even track their spending, if you will.
This is
Um,
true.
Life is a business. So
Yeah.
if you want to get over that setback, you have to really start looking at your life as a business,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to start putting together financial statements. There's an income and expense statement. Ask how many individuals or families, where's your family's financial records? Do you have an income and expense report? They'll look at you like you're nuts.
This is true.
Or
This
a
is true.
balance or asset and liability
Mm-hmm.
balance sheet. They'll be like, what are you saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
our lives, right, we've been conditioned that the way that we buy things is my credit score, my W-2s, and my 1040s. That's how
Yes.
most average people acquire or shop,
This is true.
using their credit as liabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, if you think about the history of credit, credit was really devised just to be a replacement of cash, which technically means you should not have to carry paper money or physical money. You could use the credit card in exchange for that. But when you get back home, you make the payment to the credit card, so it's still a cash purchase, and you don't incur interest, if that makes sense.
No, makes a whole lot of
But
sense.
how do most people use the credit card to buy consumable goods or
Mm-hmm.
liabilities? For example, you go to the mall, you buy a pair of True Religion jeans for $250. You
Mm-hmm.
put it on a credit card, or they offer you the credit card in True Religion, and
Correct.
the credit card is 22.99%.
Correct.
So you purchase a $250 pair of jeans, you use the new card that they gave you, and now if you don't pay that off within immediately, you're going to incur that 24.99% interest. So did you not just pay more for the jeans than what it was worth?
You definitely paid more than it was worth.
So just imagine that habitual behavior
Over and over and over and over again.
over and over. Or imagine you work so hard to get a credit score to buy to upgrade the kitchen in your house or
Mm-hmm.
to go on vacation. So you have a temporary stay for a week or 2 weeks on vacation, but
Mm-hmm.
you just mortgaged your life for the next eight years to pay off the credit card.
Right. And it would be 8 years if you think paying the bare
The
minimum is
bare
all you need to
minimum.
do.
Absolutely. So these are the types of things that we have to be aware. We have to start monitoring. We talk about, I know we're repetitive with that. We
Yes.
have to start monitoring how we circulate our frequency, our money,
Mm-hmm. And like you
and pay
said, yeah.
attention to it.
Right. That's why I know one of the things you always said to me when we first started communicating is you have to monitor your bank account, right? Because what you don't monitor, you can't manage, right?
And if you don't manage it, you can't multiply it. So life is a vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so just imagine you're operating a vehicle, maybe your car, and it doesn't have a speedometer. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have a tripometer. It doesn't have a heat. It doesn't have a temperature gauge or fuel gauge. How would you know if your car is running out of gas if you didn't have a fuel gauge?
You wouldn't know. You
How
just be
would you know
stranded
how
on the side of
fast
the
you,
road.
how do you know how fast you're going if it doesn't have a speedometer?
This is true.
How do you know how many miles you've driven for the week, for the month, if you didn't have a tripometer? So how do you
Yes.
go through life without having these specific gauges to see if you're on course, if you're performing, if you're underperforming, and the like? We have
Mm-hmm.
to start monitoring every aspect of our lives.
We really do. Especially when I mean, money is such a big thing that people think about every day. You think about it every day because you are doing something to bring it in every day. Whether you have a business or you go to work every day, money is always on your mind, right?
Yeah,
So,
What did Biggie say? My
got my
mind on
mind
my
on
money and my
money,
money on
my money,
money.
my
There you go.
mind.
There you go.
So, yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, you have to and then you'll have some people who will say, I just want to be comfortable, and I don't want to be just comfortable. So, because that's not the life I desire to live. It might be the life that some people desire to live, but I want to be better than just in a comfort state.
Well, here's the thing, right? You never grow in your comfort zone. You have to be
Correct.
stretched in order to
Yes.
get to the next height. And all the Holy Scriptures talk about this. If you want to choose the difference between life and death, you should choose life and have it more abundantly. So to be in abundance means not being comfy. You have to be willing to go to the next level. Because in life, right, your circle, as you grow, your
Right.
circles may get smaller, but the value of the circles
Gets
becomes
bigger.
more.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
start looking at this, that means you start surrounding yourself with more people that have depth.
I agree. I agree.
So
People that can speak into you. You don't always want to be the smartest person in the room, right?
you should never want to be the smartest person in the room.
Exactly. So you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to put yourself in proximity of those who have and do, who be, do, and have, right? Who be, do, and have what you're looking to be, do, and have.
As opposed to trying to have so that you can do so that you can be, which is what most of the world does.
Right.
Well, I got to have this money before I can do this. And then once I do that, I'll have that.
Yes. Yes.
That's upside down
And how
tremendously.
many people have failed at that notion, right? So, it's like if I only had $50,000, how many people I have funded for 50,000 and then they come back and they've blown the entire $50,000 and they didn't do what they said they were going to do
Right?
because
They didn't have a
they had
plan.
it, but they didn't do. So they wanted to be, they just wanted to be somebody with 50,000. And then when it's all gone, they're coming back again. Can you fix my credit? Can you help me get this money again? And it's like, no, this is not the process. This is not what we're doing here.
Right.
So we've put things in place to help people to start leveraging forward financially, right? So a lot of people will be working, right? And since we're talking about people who are in a chokehold financially, we're having conversations with people and giving them better directions on how to actually be, do, and have, how to, create the life and lifestyle that they want to live. And they can't just, say it. They have to actually put some action steps behind these thoughts and desires that they have, right?
Agreed, agreed. But like anything else, right? Who you listen to, who you watch, who you hang around truly shapes who you become.
This is true. This is so true. And so if you're, so look, I'm going to say I do. So I'm a person who I listen to you a lot because you and I have a lot of conversations. But we do our, we have our guilty pleasures and things of that nature. But you always have to come back, right? We're not saying you can't have those little things that you like to do, but you have to make the bulk of your day, the most of your day, with what you listen to, what you internalize, because your thinking is going to be what changes your direction in life. How your mindset is what you're trying to fix. You're
You
not
know what
trying to be
changed?
like the women on Housewives of
Or
Atlanta,
housewives, yeah,
and
exactly.
some people might be trying to do that, but that shouldn't be a goal for people. It really shouldn't.
One of the things that changed my life, I'll never forget it. One of my coaches said, you need to start reading 10 pages a day on something that is going to feed your mind.
Yeah, yeah,
And when you look at 10 pages a day times 365 days, look how many pages you've read.
a lot. That's a lot.
3,650 pages. And
But it
that
increases your
works out.
thinking,
And your
right?
thoughts, he said, your mind would never remain the same. And then
Yeah.
I applied that to my life. I applied that to, the work ethic in the gym, being an athlete, preparing for, for the season to start, all those different things. And I put a post the other day. I said, I coach the masses, but I only mentor a few, only because there's only a few people who want to put the reps in order to get the reputation.
This is true.
And
It's so
so if you
true.
want to have a reputation of living free and living your life on your terms, are you prepared truly to put the reps in? For some reason, people are anti-rep. They have a phobia about putting the reps in.
This is
They just
true.
want to have the result.
They want the end result. They want to go from A to Z, but they want to do that in a microwave minute.
You can't get
And
that six pack without working out, without eating right. You just can't do it.
this is true.
You
This is so
can't get
true.
to that next level of status if you don't work on where you currently are
And you first
and
have to
repetitiously.
acknowledge, right?
Correct.
You first have to acknowledge. You have to be as brutally honest with yourself to say, I effed up. I
And let
effed
it
up
go. And forgive
and let it
yourself
go.
and let it go.
Exactly.
Don't be
I,
stuck in victimhood. Learn the
yes,
lesson, keep it moving.
exactly.
Right?
Because we've all been there. It's not
All of us.
no all of us have been there. We've all effed up, or life has thrown us curveballs we didn't see coming. And you will just and we weren't prepared for those curveballs, right? So sometimes you just have to brush yourself off and start again. So many people, how many stories have we heard that of even celebrities who said, I used to sleep in my car for months or years and before I was able to make it. Right?
Yeah,
So
you hear that all the time.
you
Yeah.
hear
And
it
then
all
when
the
they make
time.
it, they have the fear of going back.
Yes.
Because even though they attained the success, their mind hasn't caught up to their success yet.
And we were talking about that, I guess, a week or so ago about Oprah and Steve Harvey and all of them. How many things in Tyler Perry, they just keep working. These people have earned a lot of money, created, wealth and riches, but they don't stop grinding. They don't. But there are people I know, I'm sure you know, who earn 50,000, 100,000, probably 35,000, and think, I'm just gonna go to work and come home, watch this cable, drink this beer, and chill.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
You know,
well,
I'm
that's
not. I'm not
sad.
thinking about going. I'm tired.
The nation average rent for a two-bedroom in the United States nationwide, I'm not talking the major cities alone,
Yeah,
but nationwide is 1750.
it is.
So at 1750, you have to make minimally north of $70,000 to even afford that apartment.
Yeah,
And that so you can't settle on a $45,000 job.
correct.
You'll
And
be
let's be
living
real. Let's be true. A $70,000 a year gross is not bringing you.
is
You're
not
not.
bringing in.
You're living probably off that 45, 50,000 a year after taxes. So,
That is
and
correct.
you have to be realistic with yourself when you are putting yourself in these contracts.
But your lifestyle is 70,000. You bring home 50 after taxes, but you spend 70,000.
Correct. And you're both, you boasting. I make 80,000. I make 120,000. I do. You. That's what the salary says, but that's not, or what the survey says, right? So, but that's not what you're bringing in. That is not
Hmm.
what you're bringing in. That's not what you pay your bills with. This is how a lot of people in the 2008 in the mortgage crisis got caught up as well. Because when you're being approved for a mortgage, you're being approved on your gross, and you and I all know that you don't pay your bills on the 100,000 that they say you're
That is
making.
correct. That is very well. You see,
So
now that's a setup. Now that's a setup. The banking industry, I'm from the banking industry. They know this,
they
right?
know that.
And they know eventually you're going to give back the asset because the asset is truly the bank's asset, right?
That's it.
Because they're receiving payments from you contractually for 360 payments.
Yeah,
Whereas you now have to go to work every day to make that payment, and they already know with probability that you're going to default.
at some point.
There's a 6 out of 10 chance that you're going to default in the first 5 years.
Yep.
This is it's not by chance. This is by design.
It's by design. It's a setup.
And like right now, the setup again, we're talking about bouncing back from the setup. Everybody under the sun now is continuously being ingrained in you. It's being leveraged in your thought process. Get an LLC, get a 720 FICO score, and go get the bag.
Yep.
Am I correct? You hear this? It's like on autopilot right now. It's auto suggestion.
Yeah.
Everybody's rushing to get an LLC.
That's right.
But folks don't realize, and again, I'm just going to give a little statement. I'm not giving legal, accounting, or tax advice. This is purely for educational purposes and having a conversation, entertainment, and having a conversation with a family. I'm speaking from personal experience and building wealth for myself to be able to give back and teach others what I've learned in my journey. So look at LLCs once again. Everybody now, they're telling you right now where you can go start an LLC for free and this and that and all those different things. Well, they never tell you that the biggest expense in life is taxes.
Taxes.
And when you form an LLC and you go onto the Secretary of State's website and you go and get an EIN number, 9 times out of 10, where does that income get filed in your taxes on your 1040 form on a Schedule C. So you're not separated, you're not in business, you just have another cover for your name, or you believe that, but you're still functioning as a sole proprietor.
And it clearly
And you
says,
end up paying, and it clearly says that.
it clearly says that you are a disregarded entity.
You are disregarded.
The first pinned video on my page, I outlined all of that on TikTok. The very first video on my page is pinned. It's talking about LLCs and how you may be at risk if you are a member, an LLC, single member LLC.
And even multi-partner, you're still paying taxes on your 1040.
You are, yeah.
Now, why is that so appealing to the masses? Because most
They don't
people are
know.
traumatized by taxation. They were employees there all of their lives.
This is
And
true.
when you are unemployed, IRS, the tax man, is taking their money before you get yours. So you're already in trauma.
Yes.
And you are now trying to find a way to avoid that trauma. And so you think that starting an LLC,
Is the way
you
to
could
go.
do that.
Yeah.
But here's the truth of the matter, and you guys can fact check this. When you file an LLC, you're going to have to, when you do that, you're going to have to put yourself down as a member, and it's limited liability. There's still liability.
Correct.
And you have to pay 15.4% self-employment tax. Which means you thought you were trying to get away from taxes by starting an LLC. You actually pay more taxes, because if you didn't know this, that FICA tax requirement, when you are employed, your employer pays 7.5%, you pay 7.5%. But when you move from an employee to self-employed or own an LLC, you got to pay the whole 15.4%.
This is true.
See, I'm just showing you, and this is some good education right now. If you heard what I just said, you went from only having to pay 7% as an employee,
Yep.
but then when you moved into self-employment or LLC, you have to pay the full 15.4%.
You do.
So, see, if you don't understand these things, you're going to make the decision thinking that you're avoiding taxes, but you went into a worse situation.
You did.
And here's a statistic that I saw. 26.6 million people operate under sole proprietorship. 23.5% operate in an LLC. And only 1% of the population functions in a corporation.
Wow.
And 10% in an S corp. So that's showing you that people don't know the best tax classification that they need to function in. And I'm going to share with you the best one to be done is you need to operate as a corporation. A corporation is a person separate from yourself.
Correct.
And when you're able to separate yourself from that entity, that's when you're making moves. I think we're going to have a conversation on that in the future.
On separating yourself from
on how to operate and separate yourself from the corporate debt.
Yeah, because if you don't, then, those who have LLCs have really put themselves in financial harm. Especially if they, that's just the case. It's not even if they did something else. If they have an LLC, which is what the internet constantly regurgitates, they have put themselves in financial harm's way because they have not separated themselves from being responsible or liable for any and everything that happens within that business.
You're still putting yourself in servitude and liability for that entity.
And you're paying more in taxes than you did when you were just an employee.
Correct.
And the mission for you to have a business is to make money, not to give more to the government.
And then some people get smarter and say, oh, well, I'm just going to move from LLC to S Corp.
Right.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. And I want you guys to challenge me, fact check me, if you will. When you go to any Secretary of State, there is no option of filing a S corporation. S corporation is a tax designation, not an incorporation.
Right.
You will never see the option, I'm forming an S corp. That
No,
is applied for at IRS. So then there's no such. So we now know S corp is not a real corporation. It's right in front of you.
this is true.
But again, we hear all this conversation, right,
Hmm.
from the social media pundits and the gurus and the durus, right?
Yeah.
This is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. But then the truth is right in front of you.
So what he's saying is C corp, right?
Big boy, big business. C corp all the way. C corp insulates you. C corp is an individual person apart from the individual.
Hmm.
And yes, you now separate yourself. It has its own tax form 1120. It does
Yes.
not appear on your tax return or your W-40 unless you are taking a distribution of shares, which is a 1099, which you'll be giving your dividend interest, or if you're paying yourself a salary from your corporation, then you would just pay your normal, you'd pay your normal taxes, where you're only
Hmm.
paying now 7%, 7.5% of the actual FICA requirement.
Right. Exactly.
And there's so many
So,
benefits to this. I mean, there's so many benefits.
hmm,
But we'll talk more about that for sure. For those who are really
definitely.
interested in really playing this game at the next level,
Hmm.
because wealth is a game and it's a team sport. And you
Right.
have to have assembled a proper team to help you manage your mint. And your mint is your mind.
Correct. So, for those who are listening to this now or on the replay, the mission of this call is again discussing ways to remain resilient in a when financial struggles come meet you at your front door, right? How do
Hmm.
you remain resilient? And a lot of times people will, you know, they'll just struggle. They'll sit there and struggle in silence. A lot of people will struggle in silence and won't try and look for help or look for ways out. But a lot of people really don't know what doors to knock on when they are faced with a crisis or a financial crisis or whatever. There's not enough money. A lot of it is really just not enough cash flow flowing in. And that's most of what this is, because again, you just went and you have a job you've had for years, and you keep finding yourself in the same financial situation year after year. But if you're constantly doing the same thing year after year, at some point you have to say, I have to do something different, right? We're going into 2025 right now. And I know a lot of people I speak to are still operating with the same crazy mindset as they did in 2015, right? So, or even be longer than that, because they have not made any changes. They may have made a little bit more money, but where has that gotten them? Where has that gotten them? I've made a post even today that broke people stay broke because they are their only asset that is bringing in income.
That is correct. That is correct. You have to have multiple streams.
When your only asset is you and you alone, and you have not decided to open up doors to leverage ways for you to have assets bringing you income in, which is what wealthy and rich people do. And they usually don't have to toil as hard as you do to have that money coming in. So you have to figure out a way to do something different, to do something better. You have to make a sacrifice and say, I know we want our children to dress in the latest and the greatest. I know we want to, travel and do these things that we want to do because we feel we deserve it. But if you can say, I'm going to sacrifice for this next year or two in order to get my family in a position to where I want us to be, then you have to make that sacrifice.
How about
Yeah,
this? Obedience is better than sacrifice.
it
So why
is.
don't you get dialed into the principles of prosperity and wealth and be obedient to the principles? Then you wouldn't have to sacrifice.
Mm,
See, that's what
yeah,
we're teaching, really. I
yeah,
mean, the sacrifice is making the decision, but then
it
once you
is.
make the decision to learn the principles and you become obedient to them and you practice them, the results will always yield what it was
The
meant to yield,
results.
the results that you
So what
desire.
are what are three principles you think people should be dialed into and learning how to dial into?
I think the very first one is every dollar that you possess in your hand, every FRN, if you will, you have to ask yourself this one question. Am I eating the seed or am I planting the seed?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to, am I going to employ this dollar or am I going to eat it? So you got to start thinking about that. Is it making me money or is it costing me money? That's the first thing.
Correct. Exactly.
Second principle is observation. You have to start to look at where you're circulating your energy. If you're exchanging time for a dollar and you're on the 40-40-40 plan, then you need to start to look at how you're allocating that and how you can take some of your time back that can
Mm-hmm.
become more fruitful.
And the 40-40 plan is 40 years at a job. 40 hours on a job, 40 years, and then retiring with 40% of your income. So you go to work for 40 plus hours a week, right?
Hmm.
40 hours a week for 40 years. And then most people retire with around 40% of what they earn, which is why so many elderly people are having to go back to work after retirement because
Depending
the
on Social Security,
yeah.
they didn't have any adequate retirement accounts put together.
And
A
most
lot
people,
of
as we
employers
said,
don't do
is
that.
retiring with less than 200,000, right,
Saved up?
in
Oh,
their
that,
retirement
oh
savings,
yeah,
right?
less than 200,000. And again, if they were living on 65, 70,000 in their working years, 200,000 is not going to cover too much living.
No, that's about 3 years, and
Right. So that's
and
why they end up running out of money and have to go back to work.
yeah, and
It's
then
a very sad commentary.
it is. And what is the third principle?
Third principle is compounding. You have to learn how to double. Instead of learning how to flip that house, learn how to flip your money. How
Correct.
quickly does it take for it to double? Keep learning how to flip it.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll learn that through leverage.
And that's also learning the speed of money, right?
That is correct, the
So
velocity of
the
money.
velocity of money. So most people will think I'm going to put my money into a savings account or I'm going to put my money into a 401k. So if you have $100,000 in a savings account that yields you 1%, which most yield less than 1%, but
Yeah,
will
0.0001%.
right, but we'll
A
be
tenth of a
nice.
basis point.
We'll say 1% is going to take you 72 years to
Say
turn
that
a
again.
hundred.
72 years.
72 years to turn your $100,000 at Bank of America into 200,000.
And
If
your
you
happy
have
little self, that 40-year-old self got 72 years to see that double.
exactly. And if you're on a job and you have your one in a 401k, which would you say eventually turns into a 201k, you're really averaging about 2% of a yield at the 401k level.
36 years to double.
So that's 36 years for your money to double in a 401k to $200,000 if you had 100,000. So in essence, your money is not making you the money that you need it to make. Your money has to be in spaces and places that's yielding you 5%, 7%, 10%, because that way your money will be able to double in a whole lot less time. A whole
I
lot
know that
less
sounds
time.
like a lot, but trust me, we do it every day. We do it every day.
Well, if you're on a job for 20 or working from job to job to job for 20, 30, and 40 years, and we're telling you 5, 7, and 10, you're saving time and you're earning a whole lot more money. So there's definitely ways that we can show you how to make that happen. Again, you just have to raise your hand and say, I want to learn. Schedule the strategy session because your goals are not like someone else's goals, and we have to put a clear plan, pathway, and process in place specifically for you. But it involves teaching you how and where to put your money in safe, low risk spaces that will allow that money to double in 5, 7, and 10 years.
Right. And then there's the other part to those things, right? Dealing with taxation and inflation.
Mm-hmm.
We've been advertised that inflation historically in the US is 3%, but we're here to tell you the true
Hmm.
cost of goods and services is something called your Consumer Price Index, CPI, Consumer Price Index.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hovering around 10% right now. So
Mm-hmm.
that means your purchasing power for every dollar that you earn every day or that you're putting away in savings is being eroded or hyper deflated by 10%. So you're buying less and less every every year.
Every year, your money, your dollar doesn't have the value that you think it doesn't have the value you think it has.
So in 10 years, you've depreciated your money by 100%. So people wonder why later on they can't buy it. The dollar can't buy the same thing anymore. And for those of you who may be from up north or wherever, think about when a loaf of bread was 50 cents, a dollar.
I'm not that old.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I'm not that old. But
Or if you took the public subway system or
yeah,
something like that, a
yeah.
token.
The token used to be like
Pass.
what, 50 cents, 75 cents, a dollar.
That's correct, correct.
What is it now? I don't even know.
Over almost $4, I believe.
Really?
Well, you
Wow.
see, cost of inflation. Well, we saw that just in COVID. A dozen of eggs went from what price to what price
Oh yeah, at
in a
one point
matter of
eggs were
18
like,
months.
yeah, yeah. But even during COVID, eggs were about what, $20 at some point in some places. I was like, ain't no way. But but this is we have to teach people, or we're here to educate people on how to outpace the rate of inflation, so that you are securing your financial future. And even if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, you're aging every second of every day. And even if you are in your 20s or 30s and you are hearing this message, no one wants to work forever. You may be able to position yourself to retire a whole lot sooner than you really think, if you put the key principles in place, so that you can start, creating that life and lifestyle that you want to live, instead of always trying to, most people are, instead of being proactive, they're reactive, especially when it comes to financial crises, right?
Right. I'm saying learn how to respond. There's a difference between reacting and responding. So we're speaking about to bounce back from a financial setback, you have to learn how to respond to the setback, not
Yes.
react to the setback. And responding means you sit back, you take inventory. I like to call it in business a SWOT analysis. I identify my strengths, my weaknesses, my opportunities, and my threats, and then take action, which is the response. So we shared some very valuable nuggets today on what you could do to reduce taxation, if you will, to be able to put yourself in a position not to mortgage your life and not to put you in financial harm by being the guarantor for a lot of this liability and debt.
This is true.
So,
Now, one of the things that is a good thing to do is to, like Al always says, I bet if people actually looked at their bank statements each month, they will see exactly how much money they've wasted each and every month,
let's
just
not say wasted. We don't
on,
want to hurt their feelings. Wasted, no, it'll tell us where their heart lies. Wherever your money goes is where your heart follows.
right. But you'll get to see,
Starbucks,
this is
Target,
the right. You paying
Kreme.
extra. Like, look, I'm telling myself right now, you paying extra for the flats instead of the drumsticks on those wings. But it's like,
Miller Ale Wings,
yeah,
Buffalo Wild Wings. Okay.
exactly. So if you
Wingstop.
look at it, you'll start to see where your money is really going. And money, because most people say, "Oh, I can't afford to do this," but you just spent $300 on nonsense, having DoorDash delivery because you ain't want to get in your car and go pick it up.
And services charges are
And the service
ridiculous.
charges and the tips and all of that. Yeah, that's a great business for people that are in that. They're creating income doing that, and it's a good service to have when you can't run out. But if you do that 10 times a month, it becomes very costly, right? If you did it 5 times a month, it could become very costly. So we look at people's statements all the time, and they spent $250, $300 just on eating out. That's not even their grocery bill. That's in
Yeah,
addition to the grocery
an
bill, because most
addition,
people
an
who,
addition.
I'm guilty of it. I know many people are also guilty of it. When you go grocery shopping, you don't want to go home and cook after that. So,
You know what the biggest one is?
yeah,
Car notes and cell phone bills. I
yeah,
find to be a lot of folks have a lot of features on
yeah,
their cell phone that they don't even use that they're paying for.
this is true. Or even those automatic payments from apps that you might have signed up for or something like that, and those
Yeah,
payments are
yeah.
still, and you have to get into even Amazon. It took me a minute one time because I'm like, why Amazon keep charging me for this, that, and the other? When I looked in there, sometimes I may have ordered it on the Fire Stick, but I also may
Ah,
have done it on, like, when you're on Facebook and Stars is about to come out with something with Power or something, and you trying to get the $3.99 special. but you didn't cancel it on Amazon initially. You think you did, but you
Three
didn't.
ninety nine every month. 3.99. Then you
Yeah.
got your Prime service. You
And
got your
it's,
Prime expense. You got all those
and
different
a lot of times you're being double
Paramount.
charged. I was being
Yes.
double charged on some things. So you have to go and look and check because sometimes you forget and you're getting charged on all of these other things. And that money adds up. It's obviously adding up for them because they're making a lot of money. And they're not going to say, hey, we recognize that the same IP address is sending us payments, twice a month. They're not going to do that. They're just going to keep accepting your payments. So these are just little things that or your child may have, done that on the Fire Stick or something and you didn't know. So you might want to, just double check where all these little miscellaneous charges. And Amazon was very difficult for me to navigate. And I'm very tech savvy.
Right.
But when you are in there, it's like, where are these recurring charges coming from? Where do I find it? And you had to keep clicking and clicking. I just got on the chat with the customer service rep so that they can direct me because it's like it's hidden. It doesn't say anything about billing or something. You had to click. There's like 5 clicks before I actually found it. So you have to these are just little things you need to just look, highlight, monitor, write it down on a piece of paper so that you can start to see where your money is going each and every month. And maybe you can allocate a way to put some money somewhere so that you can start paying yourself first. Most of us are guilty of paying. If we tithe, we may tithe first, right? If we have bills, of course, we're going to pay our bills first. And who gets paid last, or probably don't get paid at all, or we got to rob from these other things to pay ourselves. But in actuality, we should be paying ourselves first, right?
Absolutely. But I will
Why?
say this, right? I will uncover a mystical financial principle.
No.
When you exercise the power of offerings
Mm-hmm.
and potential tithing, if you're tithing in fruitful soil,
Mm-hmm.
you are providing protection for your seed and your fruits that the cankerworm and the lotus would never come and eat it up. And it also allows you to participate in a multiplicative scenario. I can tell you that I've lived it.
Right. Right. Right.
But it has to be cheerful, not under compulsion or obligation. But when you begin to step into that economy, because we don't own anything.
True.
We preach that. We talk about own nothing but control everything, but that's a true dynamic because everything belongs to the Most High. We didn't come into this vortex with anything, and so shall we depart when we leave. So
With
everything
nothing.
is just being used. We just have use and possession. So if you know that all the abundance that you accumulate here on earth is not yours, you're just a shepherd, a steward, a trustee.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you know that you're the trustee over someone, over the omniverse, the Most High's abundance, your contract is very simple, a 90-10 contract. You keep
Mm.
90 and recircle 10, advancing the principle.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to live according to that because they were never taught seed time and harvest.
Hmm.
See, that's a principle. That's a principle that we talked about how to reset. You have to
Yeah.
tap into principles. There'll
Yeah.
always be seed time and harvest. See, when you plant the seed in the soil, forget about the spirituality or the church aspect. I'm just go basic spiritual farming. When you plant the seed in the soil, that's the seed.
Mm-hmm.
Then it requires time for cultivation,
Correct.
and then you reap a harvest. So
Mm-hmm.
that's continual. May it be a spiritual principle, metaphysical principle, or a physical principle. You must always have seed time and harvest.
And where
So
you plant doesn't necessarily mean where you're going
you're
to
going to reap.
reap there either.
You may not reap where you sow, but you will reap what you sow. And so if you
Correct.
reap nothing, if you sow nothing, you reap nothing. And if you reap nothing, you sow nothing. It goes both ways.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And and that's definitely an excellent the most important principle, honestly, when you think about it. In order to just because the universe will keep working
It's
on
24/7.
on your behalf.
So I say that all the time. I said, if you didn't make any deposits in the metaphysical realm, you can't expect to get a withdrawal in the physical realm when you're in need.
Yeah, that's so
Your
true.
your ATM treats you the same way. If you do not put a deposit in your bank account and you go and try to withdraw from your ATM, it's going to say non-sufficient funds, NSF. And the same will apply when you're seeking a monetary breakthrough. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
say NSF in the metaphysical ATM, non-sufficient faith. You did not believe in the principle.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, you have to withdraw zero.
And
It's very simple.
also, it's because we also believe in that comes in time, talent, and treasure, right?
That is
So
correct.
that's you have to. How are you sowing? Because some people don't have to sow, don't have the treasure to sow, right? But you have time. You can find some time to sow into others. You may have a
That's a
talent.
seed.
That's a
That's a
seed.
seed. Yeah.
A talent that you have that you can sow into others,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you have the treasure, because that's usually what people first think about when they think about the tithing, right? But it's your time, your talent, and your treasures. So you could use what you have and do it with with a positive energy, because if you have, like, I don't want anybody coming to me to do business with me and their energy is off, because you're
Oh
not,
no.
I don't, not all money is good money, right? Not
Mm-mm.
and not all good, not all time is good time, or your talent either. But if you're not doing it with a good heart, with good energy, then we don't want that, right? God doesn't want that. Because
No.
if you, when you hear in church, they say we want a cheerful giver, because they don't want that old. We don't want no money
Begrudging,
that's
you come
been.
there with a
Mm-mm.
double-mindedness. I used to watch it, growing up, going to the mosque on Friday and church on Sunday because of my household dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I used to see people in church when the offering plate comes around. You see them fiddling in their pocket, trying not to pull that 20 out. They're trying to get those
Right.
ones and those fives. And one day the person pulled out and dropped $100 bill that he was trying to get it back out the offering plate. I just laughed and said, "Look, that's begrudging."
It is. Because honestly, this is part of the church anyway. You should
You
already
should have
have it.
came prepared. You should have
You should have had it
separated that
ready.
money already. See, again, I'm just saying
You should have had
preparation.
it ready.
Preparation. But in closing that, a seed can only produce the likeness of its kind. You can't
Exactly.
plant an apple seed and reap a mango. It's not going to happen.
No,
So if
not
you
at
need a
all.
monetary breakthrough, you have to. This is where the common sense is not very proper. If you have a monetary need, then you need to sow a monetary seed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't you can't sow love to get a monetary seed. You sow
Mm-hmm.
love when you want to reap love.
Correct.
When you want friendship, you become friendly to get friendship.
Correct.
If you want abundance, you have to give abundance. See,
Mm-hmm.
it's direct proportion.
It is.
As so above, as so beneath. It's all the
Mm-hmm.
same. It's all the same.
Exactly.
So
So
if you,
yeah, so these are just some ways that we know that have not have worked for us, have worked for millions of others, right? And we also sometimes we'll look at people sometimes and we'll be like, well, why do they always seem like they're getting blessed,
they
right?
know the principle. That's why they say the Most High is not a respecter of persons. So it doesn't matter if you're tall, short, black, blue, green, yellow, red, or whatever denomination you want to call yourself in your faith. If you tap into the universal principle, it will
Hmm.
yield what it's supposed to do.
Correct. Exactly.
But if you
So,
don't learn those principles and you're on the outside trying to wing it,
hmm.
then you're going to get the results of just winging it. You might
Mm,
get some wins here and there, but it won't be consistent.
right.
You see that a lot, right? People become very rich, athletes, actors, they get big contracts and then 4 years after leaving the league, or if it's a few years they didn't make a film, they're broke.
It broke.
Lottery winners.
Yep.
They win millions and then go broke several years later. Why? Because the poverty consciousness was still there. They never learned the principles.
Mm,
They just consumed the riches that they received.
and that's it. They got to enjoy for a moment,
That's it.
not a
That's it.
lifetime. And
Hmm.
we are looking to help the people build their wealth journey, begin this wealth journey and build it for a lifetime, not just their lifetime, be able to pass it down at least 3 generations deep. That's the goal. So,
Absolutely.
and you can start. Like I said, when I did my introduction today, I said I work with people who earn an average of $50,000 or more, who are looking to build that become, I mean, who are looking to build their wealth journey. And I start at that number because most people who are at least at that number have some way of being able to invest in themselves, right? They have a way, they have a little bit of leeway and some room to kind of invest in themselves, because most people, not that they're winning financially, but they can at least get on the right track to start winning financially, because we know that wealth really starts to begin around 150,000, right?
Correct,
That
because
wealth,
then you could invest 30% of that and really start to catapult yourself financially. Sure.
right. So you could, so most people think wealth is at a million or something like that. No, it begins at around $150,000. And one of the things that we know is that it's easier to make $150,000 a month than it is to make $150,000 a year, right? It's
It's
easy
all
to make $1
relative.
million
Yeah.
a month than it is to make $1 million a year, because that's a lot of people going to work every day, lifting bricks on hot roofs, doing, fixing people roofs and stuff like that. And they are toiling hard in the heat. It takes a lot more energy, but we are here to show you how to use financial intelligence to make your money grow, to create more
Yeah, but
money.
so long as you respect seed time and harvest, it's
Yes,
going to take time.
it
If you're
does take
looking
time.
for that microwave overnight success story, well, at least I can say for myself, I'm not that person.
We can't do it because we're
We
not,
can't do it.
it's
We're
not
not that.
overnight.
It's not
You know,
overnight.
I've been
No.
in this industry for 27 years. I know you've been over 30. So it's not overnight, but it's not impossible. We're not going to say it's impossible. It's not impossible to become an overnight success. Many people have done it, but we're not here to teach you that or to educate you on that, because usually if it comes fast, it goes fast.
Wealth is measured over time.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it. It requires time because you have to
exactly.
grow it, you have to compound it, you have to have that cultivative time frame.
Mm-hmm.
If you take it out too soon, the question was asked a few people, would you take $100,000 today or a penny doubled for 30 days? Which would you take?
A penny of doubling every day for 30 days.
Yes, or
Um,
$100,000 cash right now.
a
No, better yet,
penny.
a penny. See,
Yeah,
a penny a day will yield you well over $5 million.
right.
But that shows you the power of compounding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But most people will be like, no, just give me the six figures right now and forego the seven.
Right. But see, with the wealth consciousness, if you learn how to acquire multiple streams of income that pay you monthly recurring on a recurring basis, you can forecast your life. And that's
Yeah.
what we're here to offer opportunities to teach and elevate how to do that strategically
Yes.
without breaking the bank
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
and get it done.
Like, well, I know I've mentioned this pretty much not on every live we do, but one of the ways that people begin their wealth building journey, of course, is through real estate. Most people can't go the traditional route of real estate, right? Because there's credit parameters, there's down payment requirements, all of those little things, including whether you're doing traditional or hard money. But we operate in the private money space, so we do common sense financing. So we don't always look at the credit, but we look at your ability to repay.
Right.
And we help position you in one of our programs where you're able to get in at and get a property in the states that we have inventory, and you're able to become a real estate investor. As a real estate investor, now you're going to start to create cash flow, which is the goal, right? Money that you create cash flow doing something one time, but the money keeps flowing in month after month because people need somewhere to live. And we show you how to do that by working with people who, go with, have
Correct.
Section 8 and things of that nature. But
Correct.
that's just one of the ways that we're able to help people get into real estate regardless of credit, right? And then when you put a tenant in there, the tenant is paying the rent. So one, we didn't go by your credit, and two, we didn't even go by your income, because we're
Correct.
going
There you go.
to. So people can say, I can't become a homeowner right now, but you actually can, because I just told you you could, regardless of credit and regardless of your income. Because
Proximity is power.
exactly.
And the
So,
right knowledge.
yeah. So, and then you can turn that into one property, and then you can say, all right, y'all have properties in Ohio too. Well, let me go ahead and get one of them too.
And after a
So,
couple of those, you have enough cash flow coming off. Now that cash flow can finance your lifestyle. Now you
hmm
can go buy that single family home, that nice luxury condo where
hmm
your assets are taking care of your lifestyle. That's why in our community we say we don't pursue money, we pursue lifestyle.
hmm exactly.
And we do the things that will support our lifestyle, not us work to pay for the lifestyle.
Right, because that's a liability.
Hmm.
If you have a single family home that you have to get up every day and leave to go to work, or you may be working from home, but you are an employee somewhere, you still are trading your time for dollars to pay that mortgage, to pay that light bill, to do all of those things. The mission is to put you in a position where your assets that are actually creating cash flow without you having to go to work on a clock. Now it pays for the asset that you have invested in, and it also helps to put cash flow into your household, because that's the mission. So people who are struggling financially, right, in this
Hmm.
time, this is something that you can partake in if you just raise your hand and say, how do I do that? But people, we present these things, and some people say, that's what I want to do, but I don't know if I'm able to do it. You got to have the conversation. That's what we're here to do. We're presenting it because we don't advertise on television. We don't advertise, but we are here for people who, again, are ready, willing, and able to raise their hand and say, this is something I want to learn about. This is
We
something
have
I want to do. You just can't
we
keep
have some
watching
folks raising hands.
HGTV.
We have people raising their hands saying they want it.
Right. You have to say, this is a life and lifestyle. I'm tired of life as it is, and I'm ready to do something different. I have people who complete my questionnaire forms, and a lot of them have said, I don't want to continue living a life that really is reaping no benefit, that has no fruit. I see nothing of my life but going to work to pay bills and coming back home. I want more for myself. I want more for my children. Um, a lot of people are over 50. They say they have to restart their lives because of whatever. So when people fill out my questionnaire, I want to know what it is that is keeping you up at night. What is the number one thing that will have you watching an infomercial at 2, 3 in the morning?
I like to call it, what is your guilt, shame, and disgust? What is it? Whatever in your life that
Yeah,
gives you guilt, shame, and disgust, we need to eradicate that.
right. So these are the things that you have to start saying, I need help with. And the reason you need help with, and it's not anything to be ashamed of, to be honest with you, because most of us didn't learn about money, right? A lot of us, I don't know how many of us, but it's a lot of us who were raised, and by the time we turned 18, our parents said, get out. So,
Well, you was running out because you wanted to,
you were running out because
be
you
on your
were you were
own, do your
done.
own thing. Exactly.
You
Right.
were done, or you might have gone off to college. And I
Hmm.
have doctors, I have, like, surgeons and everything who have come to me for to restore their credit and help them through these processes. But one of my surgeons said, and she was an African American woman. She said, a melanated woman. She said that she's a surgeon. She did everything she was taught to do it right. She went to school, did what she was supposed to do, but at no point was she ever taught about credit and money. So she was taught to go how to go out there and get the money, but she was never taught what to do with the money. And that's why she found herself needing credit repair and things of that nature. So I say that to say, just because you may be somebody, she's a surgeon earning well over, of course, six figures and beyond, but she didn't, even at that level, she didn't had no knowledge or concept of what to do. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you are somebody who's earning, 40, $50,000 a year, 60,000, 70,000, 100,000, we understand that you just don't know, because most of us were never taught anything about credit and money at all. So it's no need to really to feel ashamed. It's like, let me say this, as a credit person, a person who does credit, I have thousands of people who are on my Facebook page. I have hundreds of those people who are my friends, right? So many people know what I do, and they will sit there in silence and struggle because they are ashamed instead of raising their hand. And then 3, 4, 5 years later, they're like, I've been wanting to reach out to you, girl, but I just didn't know what to
What to
say.
say? Well, what the old people said: a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Yeah, right.
You
So
have to
I
open your
can't
mouth.
help
That's
you
right.
if you don't tell me you need help, right? I
So
can't
help us help you. Open
help,
up, make that
right?
call, reach out. That's it.
It's so many people. And then even maybe a couple months ago, I had an influx of people from a year ago, 2 years ago. And they was like, my husband needs to get his credit fixed, but you helped me about 2, 3 years ago. And I was able to get this house. One girl got a 6 bedroom, 6 bath house and all this stuff. I was like, wow. So, I love the testimonials, but a lot of times because we help so many people, sometimes we don't know exactly what happened on the other side of them getting their credit fixed and things of that nature. So I love hearing those stories, but I love also knowing that people were able to do exactly what they came to me to do. They accomplished that goal. So if you have goals to have, you know, a bunch of properties, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 properties that are bringing you in an inventory, or we call them doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you got, 100 doors, Al? Um, so,
It's above that, but yeah, it's above that.
so,
I'm not.
but in this industry, they call it doors. How many doors do you have? Meaning, how many investment properties do you
Doors
have?
and keys. I have doors and keys.
Right.
Keys
So
are the
you,
hotel spaces. You say keys.
yes. So see, there's ways to do this, and you don't have to do it alone. You can become a partner with us and have ownership in multiple entities as opposed to just trying to thug it out on your own. You don't have to do that. We're here as a conduit to get you to your wealth.
Your prosperity partners. We're gonna partner together.
Yeah.
No books
So
and tapes and videos. Action. Edu action.
exactly. Because yeah, you can. How many people have done that? How many people have gone to seminars and paid the extra 20, 30 thousand dollars after they got you in there for free, and still have not amassed anything from that, or they have gone through all these courses and things of that nature. And most people, I think maybe 1% actually goes through the courses, right? Because you're usually sitting there by yourself. With this, you
Yeah.
have conversations with us again where you can raise your hand and ask the question
You're
of
not
things
just
that
a
you don't.
number. Yeah, you're a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little, our process is a lot different than many others. Um, and most of the time, like I always say, I put extra time on here so you don't have to look at the clock.
Okay. I was looking at saying, uh-oh, it's about to
No,
expire.
no, because what I'm doing now is I'm just going to move everything to YouTube. Um,
Awesome.
Everything is just going to be on YouTube so that the conversation can do what it needs to do. But what the message here is that if you have been somebody who has been stressing about your finances and trying to remain positive and just wanting to just say I can get through this, but you don't know or have a real plan, you just need to say I need some guidance in this. My mom and dad didn't know about money, so they didn't teach us about money, or money conversations were not had around the kitchen table and things of that nature. So now we're here offering that space for you to say I need help. And once you open your mouth, that's when the blessings start to pour in, because you have to ask and you shall receive.
That's right.
So any closing statements, Mr. Mills?
As always, I'm just excited that we are here to just provide some insight to help those make more clear decisions on how to reverse their current situations. And so I'm just going to just say this. If you really feel that you're tired of being tired and you really are looking for another alternative, here's the bright side. Even if it didn't work, but it will,
Mm-hmm.
you can always go back to your current state. So you only have one way, and that's up.
This is true.
And I'm going to say no opportunity waits. So that's why you need to always act now, and because tomorrow's not promised to you. So let's get to our desired reality as soon as possible and create that lifestyle compliancy. So I'm just excited for those who's raised their hand. I've seen a few today raise their hand, and We're going to just be able to usher you to where you want to go because it's about you guys, right? It's all about you. Everyone
It
here is
is.
a unique, have your own story, your own desires, and we're here to like Monique said, we're going to create that plan, that process, and that pathway to get you there. Everything is custom. There is no cookie cutter. You're
Mm-mm.
all unique, and we're going to cater to your uniqueness and reverse anything that you feel you need to take out of your life that's prohibiting you. So I just want to say thank you for allowing me, especially, to speak with you. Um, Eventually, I'll be able to be on video. I'm not a social media person, but I believe in private prosperity. But you know,
Mm-hmm.
my partner in crime is getting me out so you can come out and talk to the people. So I'm doing what I need to do.
Yes. So, yeah, exactly. So if you aren't following Al, you can follow him on not TikTok, TikTok at the Prophetic Financier, and that'll be in the captions as well. The Prophetic Financier on Instagram at Prophetic Financier, and YouTube is, what is your YouTube?
The prophetic financier,
It's
same as.
still the Prophetic
Hmm. Hmm.
Financier, because I know you
Hmm.
said one of them came. The D does not. The THE is not on
Yeah,
there.
that's just on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And again, as you heard, he has years of knowledge to share. He's willing to share. He's open to share. You just have to be willing to raise your hand and say that, my time is now. At some point, you have to get out your own way at the end of the day. Um, if you are someone who wants to have a private strategy session, all you have to do is click the link in my bio or go to pinkpowerceo.com and click on schedule appointment. And that's going to allow you to schedule what I call a private strategy session, which is done by somebody on a senior on my team or myself, where we have an in-depth conversation, an adult conversation on where you currently are and where you are looking and desiring to be. Because this is pretty much like a GPS, right, Al?
That's
We
correct.
got to we got to know where we're at currently in order to get that GPS directing us in the direction we're looking to go, which really is to create the life and lifestyle that we're desiring to have, to be, do, and have.
And there's always certain paths to get there. You can have the no toll, scenic route, fastest route. So you see, we're gonna, based on where you want to go and what you're trying to do, we will devise that plan, that pathway, and that process to get you
That's
there.
right. We scared of bridges. We ain't no bridges. We
No
go.
bridges.
We're
We're gonna
gonna
bridge that gap.
exactly. So yeah. So that's the process again. Um, Pink Power CEO, and I'm Pink Power CEO on all platforms. YouTube, um, well, not well, Facebook too, but YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Pink Power CEO. Under Facebook is Monique Macklin. Um, but yeah, this is a great opportunity to have a conversation. 2024 is pretty much over. We're in the fourth quarter. What do you want your 2025 and beyond to look like? Right? And as I always say, it doesn't matter who's in the White House, who's
Doesn't
doing
matter.
what,
Doesn't
ain't
matter.
got nothing to do with it.
I got a personal economy. My household is
Exactly.
my first economy, and I'm
Exactly.
ahead of it.
Exactly. So you have to, because when you think about it, people are struggling in a crazy economy, but how many people are still thriving? I was listening to a young lady who works at a BMW dealership, and she said a guy came in there and put six figures down and drove, and he just wanted them to hold the car because it was a limited edition BMW.
Oh yeah,
He didn't want to take it off the lot. I'm paying for it cash. Hold it for me for a couple of months.
you did a Charlie Wilson, huh? Handle that for me.
Exactly. So, she said like she was flabbergasted because, like, what does he do for a living? Who has that kind of money to do that? People are making this kind of money each and every day,
There's no
right?
lack in the universe. There's no lack.
No, the only lack is what you limit yourself to.
Is
If
that you
you
be
have,
lacking? You
is
be
if you have
lacking
limited yourself to $50,000 a year, guess what you're going to get
50,000 a year.
before taxes? So if you want more, you have to be willing to ask for more, right? And get out of your comfort zone because,
That's
as
it.
Al said, you're not going to be able to spread out and grow if you're stuck in a comfort zone. You have to say, I'm, willing to do something different to be better in life. You can't keep
Tired
doing
of
the
being
same.
tired of being tired.
Yeah. At some point, you're going to have to say enough is enough. So, yeah, it's been a great conversation. I hope that those who are listening to this or listening to the replay have gotten a good message out of this. And again, reach out to us either way on social media or just schedule a strategy session because that links you to both of us either way anyway.
Absolutely.
So yeah, pinkpowerceo.com, and let's have the conversation. And Yapa, as always, thank you for helping us in the chat, welcoming people in. And we appreciate you and love you for being the awesome person that you are.
Absolutely.
And in closing, I just want to say I hope you all have a blessed and prosperous day, and I look forward to speaking with those who actually raise their hand. And we'll talk to you soon.
And I'll close with this. If you can see it in your mind, you shall hold it in your hand.
Yes,
You are
definitely.
more than enough. So be well.
Amen. Take care.
Take care.